Welcome to Pine Brook Hills. This is one of the most beautiful destinations in Boulder. Now, we're here at a dear friend's house and we are going to winterize their winter driver. Basically, it's a car that they drive all the time. It's a BMW X1. It's a great winter driver, all-wheel drive, and certainly whatever chemical, whatever magnesium chloride, salt, gravel, all that stuff's going to be used on the roads to get up to this mountain perch. Winterizing your vehicle is a great way to keep your vehicle easy to clean, nicer to drive, and it'll come out on the other side of the season in way better condition. All right, let's get this guy ready for winter. The first step to a really good winter preparation is a wash. You want to clean the vehicle, you want to clean the wheels and tires, and certainly this vehicle is very ready for a thorough cleaning. Starting with our wheel cleaner, I want to blast off the wheels. I want to make sure I get the barrels of the wheels extremely clean. Then we also want to take special care to clean the tires. I want to make sure that I get the wheel wells also thoroughly clean before we go ahead and use the undercarriage spray. Now, you've probably seen our videos on cleaning wheels and tires. I'm going to use the turbo stick on this guy. There's some old beat up stuff on there. All right, when you're cleaning your wheels and tires, keep a bucket ready to go with all your wheel cleaning tools. That'll make it a lot easier for you to go ahead and clean them. So, the fender well brush, critical tool for getting all the crud out of your wheel wells. Not only for your winter prep, but your winter washing. You're gonna wanna make sure and keep your wheel wells clean, and all the chemicals that hit your wheel wells all winter long, you want to remove those. Of course, the face of the wheel with the wheel brush. And then the tire brush. Wow. All right. And then just to make sure I get all this stuff clean, I want to clean each of the lug nuts, spray a little bit more of the wheel cleaner, and then I want the hat of the rotors, the part of the rotor that attaches the disc brake to the actual wheel. Keep that clean, and your brake calipers, get those clean. Making sure that I thoroughly rinse between each wheel before moving on to the next. Now, while Kyle's doing the wheels, I'm gonna go ahead and blast out the engine compartment. Blast it out? Yeah. So all these leaves and pine needles and such, we want those out. Blasting dry needles and dry leaves is so much easier than doing wet ones. Now, the Master Blaster Revolution is the tool to do that. 4 horsepower plus an additional 4 horsepower for 8 horsepower. These two motors both heat and blast air at a couple hundred miles an hour, and that's what it takes to get these leaves out of this engine compartment in a hurry. 1, 2. Now I want to clean the engine. Using our Eco APC, I want to pre-hit all of the nastiest areas. All right, then I'm going to use some of the wheel cleaning tools to clean it. Now, I went ahead and went directly with the Eco APC onto a dry engine because it's not that dirty. If I need to blast off a serious amount of standing crud before cleaning, then I would. In this engine, it's not as awful, so I went ahead and did it dry to let the cleaner have the most effect. Now, the brush that I like the most for engine bay cleaning is our wheel brush. Its soft bristles don't hurt a thing, yet it's just enough to go ahead and clean the nastiness from your engine compartment. Also, the soft bristles get the nooks and crannies really well. And there's some stuff that I just won't be able to reach with a full-size brush. So after getting all of the big and obvious areas with the wheel brush, I'm clearly going to need a smaller brush to get the nooks and the crannies, which is our trim and lug brush. This guy gets into the nooks and crannies really well. Make sure you don't use a really firm bristle brush on the painted areas of your engine compartment. You don't want to scratch up your engine compartment. All right, thoroughly scrubbed, rubbed, and now time to rinse. As soon as you're done washing your engine compartment, it's a great idea to use compressed air to blow the water out of the whole area. Now, remember, if you have an open element air filter, in other words, a cold air intake, something like that, make sure you cover the filter before you wash your engine compartment. Remember, on some cars from maybe the 80s that were getting some computers put in, however, they weren't exactly getting watertight, be very careful washing your engine compartment. Most modern cars you don't have to worry about at all, but blasting them down before you close the hood, great idea. All right, now that we've got the wheels done, we've got the exhaust tips done, we have the engine compartment cleaned and blown out, we're gonna go ahead and clean the vehicle. We've got our 2-bucket wash program going, both buckets filled with warm water. We've got our car shampoo, blast a little bit, dump in the bucket, blast a little bit, put in the bucket, and making some suds. Okay, give it a quick blast off. Now we're rinsed. It's always a pleasure to foam. So, well, now that we're all foamed, we're gonna go ahead and give it a bath. Make sure when your wash pad gets dirty, as mine clearly is, that I go back to the bucket and rub the wash pad on the grit guard to get all the dead animals and all the dirt out of your wash pad. Back into the soap bucket. And here we go. Now's the time to wash your door jambs as well. And how often are you gonna do your door jambs? That's the question. If you see your door jambs and you see that they're nasty, clean them out. But in your winter prep, now's the time to get them really good, because then we're gonna use some sealant on the door jambs to make them get through the winter without damage. or deterioration. I want to make sure that I'm careful when I'm washing out the door jambs. I obviously don't want to soak the inside of the car. So get the hose to the fan or the spray you want first, and then go ahead and rinse. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of unsealed, untreated glass. See how the water is completely flattened out on the windshield? That means when you're driving, your visibility is significantly reduced. Having the water be flat like this on the glass is a dangerous way to drive. And looking at the sunroof, it's even worse. Now, let's take a look at the paint while we're at it. See the paint, there's zero water beading, there's no water sheeting. This is just a bare naked finish that needs to be decontaminated with a clay mitt or a clay bar and then sealed. Now it's time to go ahead and address all the bumps, all the contamination on the finish. We want to make sure and have that removed. Now there's two different ways to do it. My personal favorite is the clay mitt. It gets a whole bunch of contamination removed at one time. The other option is a very good option also, is our Visco clay bar and our Visco tool. Now, Kyle.
Yes.
How about you go crazy with the Visco tool? Great. And I'm going to grab the detail spray. And we're going to go around this whole vehicle, here you go, and blast it down with detail spray. And Kyle's using the glass cleaner as his lubricant for doing the glass. So while the car's still wet, I'll take the Visco clay and the clay mitt, and we're going to go ahead and together knock down all the contamination on this finish. I love doing it while the car's still wet. It gives us the ability to use the water as well as detail spray. Now, to remove all the stubborn bug guts that might not have come off in the wash, this is great, and especially for doing all of the tree sap and the road crud that's in this. Now, from time to time, I'm going to want to take my clay mitt and dump it back into the wash bucket. What that's going to do, it's going to keep my clay mitt nice and clean and make sure that I'm always pulling the maximum amount of contaminants off the finish. Great, now that we've decontaminated the finish, it's no longer bumpy. We used the clay mitt, Kyle used the Visco clay bar. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and blast this sucker off with the Master Blaster, and Kyle's gonna follow me with the Ultra Plus drying towel. All right, we already clayed the glass. Now it's time to seal it. Using a glass sealant is incredible. It makes your car so much safer to drive, way easier to clean, makes it easier to scrape ice off, and it makes the water jump off your glass. And at 50 miles an hour and up, you can almost avoid your windshield wipers altogether. So after you've clayed your glass, you take our glass sealant. You take one of our microfiber applicator pads. You pour a little bit of the glass sealant into the applicator, and for me, I like to put a little bit on the glass too. And when I go ahead and go over, I want to really thoroughly cover the entire half of the windshield at a time. I go one way and then I go the opposite way, creating a crosshatch. You can see as the glass sealant starts to cure where you have been and where you need to rub a little bit more. You can see it cure unevenly, and that's when you know it's starting to really work. So make sure that you get this glass really thoroughly sealed all the way down to the very base of the windshield, because down here is where all of the snow and ice likes to hang out in the wintertime. Here's a critical step. If you're going to use an alcohol or an ammonia-based cleaner on your glass, that's going to be a problem. That'll reduce the longevity of your glass sealant. So use our sprayable glass cleaner for best results with one of our microfiber towels, and you will see instantly perfect. Oh my gosh, that looks good. You will see instantly perfect glass. Okay? That looks perfect. And if you get some on the paint or you get some on the plastic or the rubber, there's no problem at all. It won't do any harm. All right, on to the rest of the glass. Now, while Kyle goes ahead and finishes sealing the windshield, I'm going to show you something else that's really a great way to maintain a perfectly sealed glass throughout time. So this is called Glass Boost. It's definitely in the same family as our glass sealant, only instead of apply, let, haze, and remove, the Glass Boost is a spray-on, wipe off. So if you have driven over 250 miles in the rain with the wipers on, that's when your glass sealant will start to break down. Basically, that amount of friction of the wipers will make that glass sealant start to go away. Now, the other thing that will make your glass sealant go away is a full gallon of your windshield wiper fluid. Your windshield wiper fluid in your car is mostly alcohol. Alcohol so it doesn't freeze in the wintertime. Well, that is going to make your glass sealant also break down. So if you've gone through a full gallon, full reservoir of your windshield wiper fluid, or you've gone through driving in the rain for that long, you're going to want to add either another coat of our glass sealant, or for a quick one, you can do the Boost. Now, your wheel wells get a lot of abuse, right? Everything that your tires are throwing up are thrown into your wheel wells. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that they stay protected. The invisible undercarriage spray is the way to go. Now you see we've put some cardboard in front of and behind the tire. That's because we don't want to do any sort of staining to the nice driveway. Now, what does it do? It puts a very serious coating on your wheel well of your plastic fender wells. It does not do anything at all for carpeted fender wells. Got that? Doesn't do a thing. So watch, I'm going to show you how it darkens and protects your wheel well. All right. Oops, missed a little bit there. And that looks great. So if you get any on your tire, of course, that's fine. If you get some on your trim, of course, that's fine. We're going to do that later. Now that while we're down here, let's go ahead and use our tire shine. Now, I always like to spray our tire shine into the top of the tread block, never next to the wheel, and then into the Pro Tire applicator sponge. And the reason I like to do that is because you spray that, and then you take a little bit of this, and you go like that. And this way I don't have any overspray at all on the wheels, and I can use the sponge to get right up alongside the wheel. Now, on these Goodyears, I have these little ribs. I want to make sure and go with the ribs to make sure that I get the tire shine into each and every little nook and cranny. Chances are you're going to get 97% of the tire looking great. However, the chances are that you'll have at least 3% of the tire down here at the very bottom where it's going to be impossible to reach. So make sure you drive your car forward or backward a few feet and get that very, very bottom spot that's absolutely impossible to get at this point. You notice the shine that you get from the tire shine? If you rub it in as I have with the Pro Tire sponge, it's not terribly shiny. You see it's just black and it's clean. That's a great look. You'll also notice that the invisible undercarriage spray, as it dries to a matte finish. I like to reapply the invisible undercarriage spray about every 1,000 to 1,500 miles. If you do it that often, your wheel wells will be really easy to clean. When you go and hit them with a pressure washer after driving through snow or crud, nothing's going to stick to them and they'll be looking great. Now, since we're about to get this car ready for winter, How perfect do we want to make the finish? Well, if it was my car, pretty dang perfect. But let's be real. I don't want to put too much energy into making it flawless just so that I can go slosh around in the snow and the ice and the crud. So we definitely know that this car has nothing on the finish right now. You know, it's a naked finish. We did clay it, we got all the contaminants off, but I think a one-step polish using our Swirl Killer polisher and our orange correcting pad, I know that what we can do is get this finish to about 75 or 80%, which for me, on a car that's going into the winter, that's good enough. So, with the orange pad, of course, the orange correcting polish, I'm gonna go ahead. Then, since I'm only doing a one step on this, I'm gonna go ahead and take some of our white finishing polish. This is a tricky step, and I'll tell you what, it makes a great difference. Just a touch of the finishing polish now, and then instead of having to go two steps, I can one step this vehicle in speedy time and get it really looking fantastic before applying a machine sealant. Now, between setting 5 and setting 6 is where I like to run the machine. I like to make sure and rub the polish in so that I don't sling my awesome Adams Polishes jacket, and I also want to make sure I have it rubbed in. So I'm going to go ahead, got it rubbed in. I'm going to pull the trigger, I'm going to set it, and then I'm going to focus over the head and off the tail of the polisher. So I have complete control of the polisher. I don't need to worry at all about the trigger. Now as the pad starts to get dry, it's not necessarily because there's no more compound in the pad. Actually, I can actually see where I put the compound in there. So instead of adding more product always, if I can actually see the compound or the polish in the pad, take a little of our detail spray and then prime the pad, and then you'll go straight back to laying down plenty of polish again. You can see that there's plenty of polish in the pad. When the liquids dry out, the solids are no longer able to go on and correct the finish. So a quick header detail spray, we're back in business. Now that we've got the paint clayed, polished, and finishing polished, now we're gonna go ahead and seal the paint. So it's an extremely easy process, really. I'm gonna grab our polisher. We're gonna use the fine gray pad as our sealant pad. As always, the cord over the shoulder. I'm gonna turn the speed down between 5 and 4, okay? Just between those two speeds, because I'm no longer gonna be correcting. I'm not fixing anything. I'm just gonna be adding protection. So, with 3 dabs of our liquid paint sealant, I'm gonna go to town. And as always, rub it around a little bit first. Block it out. So this is how applying a sealant is different than applying compound or polish. Basically, all I'm doing is applying protection. And just as before, I can only get about 60% of the vehicle with a full-size polisher. So I'm gonna quickly get the 60%, and then I'll come over with a mini polisher and go ahead and knock out the little hard to reach areas. As I said earlier, you can only get about 60% of just about any car with a full-size polisher. So using the Mini to go ahead and knock out the entire front clip, around all the badges, the grille, it's pretty much an essential tool. And once again, I'm gonna turn the speed down on the polisher. I'm gonna go between 3 and 4. Here's the significant thing to mention. Always polish, always Clay Mitt, and always seal your headlamps. They oxidize faster than any other part of your car, maybe except for the rubber, but by keeping them polished, just like you polish the paint, they'll stay clear for many years to come. Now for the hard part, wiping off the paint sealant. Well, I will tell you, that's truly the easy part. This stuff comes flying off. Now we did go ahead and polish, seal, clay, everything, the clear bra. Okay, the clear bra had all kinds of goobers on it. Now it looks fantastic. So that's usually a question we get asked. Now knocking off the paint sealant just takes a minute. This is not something that requires a tremendous amount of time to cure like a ceramic coating. However, if you can let it set up overnight or for 3 or 4 hours, that would be ideal before it has to go straight back out into the weather. So we got the paint fully knocked down. We clayed it, we polished it, and we used the paint sealant. It looks better than it did the day it rolled off the showroom, says our friends the owners. So that's great, super slick. Now, there's a few other obvious things that need attention. One is this grayish rubber piece here, which should look nice and dark and black. And then there's the entire thing that is all of the plastic that goes over each of the wheel wells, down below the car, once again here, half of the rear bumper and half of the front bumper. If we go ahead and do a ceramic coating to that plastic, it's gonna go through the winter with a song. It's gonna stay nice and dark all the way through, and when the crud sticks to it, we're a pressure washer away from it being perfectly nice and better than new again, and it'll bead water. So first, we wanna knock off any oxidation. So using our trim coating kit, directions, polishing towel, and small tire and rubber cleaner. The small tire and rubber cleaner is used in conjunction with the microfiber utility towels. Now, this combo is how you eliminate this ugly oxidation. So watch this, and watch how the color of this will change as I eliminate all of the oxidation from this rubber. All right, so that is the oxidation that we took off of the front door alone. Now I'm gonna go ahead and turn the towel, find a fresh spot, and I'm gonna keep going down the rear passenger door. And as I see it starting to really all the oxidation start to build up in the towel, I want to keep turning the towel, getting a new section so that I have more room in the towel to pick up more oxidation. And now we're ready to go ahead and hit it with a little coating prep. So into the box goes the tire rubber cleaner, and now quickly I'm going to grab a fresh towel, and then we're going to go with the coating prep. The coating prep is basically a premium alcohol spray. And what this does, this takes anything off the rubber and the plastic so that when we come to coat it, there's nothing in the way of making the ceramic coating really adhere well to the surface. It will remove a little bit more of the oxidation, but it'll leave it nice and naked and ready to be treated. The coating prep, done. Now this is all totally ready to be coated. Now, a lot of people are afraid of ceramic coatings. Don't be, especially on your trim. Your trim will love the ceramic coating, okay? So ceramic trim coating, coating applicator. So we'll start with this little piece of plastic right here, and then we'll go up the rubber. Trim coating, pour a little bit onto the applicator, cap goes back on, and then we are basically going to treat this, and it's going to look like you're just putting some dressing on it initially. It's going to turn it dark. It's going to make it look nice and beautiful. Only the difference between this and a standard dressing is this is going to last for up to a year. It's going to keep the black looking super dark, and it's going to protect all of your rubber and your trim from the elements. It really makes a huge difference. There's nothing you can screw up. Now, even if you get some on the paint, all you have to do is come and wipe it off. If you get it on the paint and don't notice for a really long time, take a little bit of our Brilliant Glaze and go over it, and that'll level it down and make it no longer stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the rest of the plastic. You'll notice a nice rich color, and you'll see how easy it is. There's no hocus pocus. This is not a big deal. This sucker is ready for winter. Not only is it beautiful, it's also ready to get nasty. Since you're using a pressure washer so much in the wintertime to just blast off your car at the Pay and Spray, by having everything sealed like we just have, it's going to make it really easy to keep looking great all winter long.